Sadistic Penguin Studios presents It's Getting Drafty in Here.
Drafty old barn.
The show of drafting random nonsense.
I choose business ethics.
And now, coming to you from his basement, a.k.a. Draft Headquarters, your host and draft master, Magnificent Stan.
Hello, welcome to episode 70 of It's Getting Drafty in Here. I am your host, Magnificent Stan. Today is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. And we are about, technically MLB season started today, but not really for another 7-8 days. But we're going to be doing the old MLB Build-A-Team draft again this year. We've done it for the last 2 years, and now we're doing it for a third. Joining me, same crew as before. We got Josh Nelson from Sox Machine. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? We're getting there. We're almost there.
Yeah. It's been a long winter, man. It was nice. I actually woke up early and watched the game today a bit, so that was nice to see. Also joining us, we have from what's Addison to 35th, right, Herb?
Mm-hmm.
Addison to 35th. We got our guy Herb Lawrence back on. How you doing, Herb?
Doing well. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm having internet problems. I don't know what's going on here at the great city of Chicago and uptown neighborhood, but been having it all day long. That's the only problem I'm having is this internet going wrong. Everything else, smooth.
Right on. Well, usually we just dive right in, but before we start, I have a few graphics for us from last year's draft. So I wanted to show this real quick. This was the results from last year. If we want to look at them again. Oh, you know what? Let me move out the banner for a second. So
I'm sorry, I looked at the pictures right away.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Well, you know what's funny is Herb and I had the same problem. Is the fucking Atlanta Braves screwed us both last year. So that's last year's draft. Some good, some bad. I did go and do what I did last year, which was just get all the B-WAR from everybody from last year and just add it all up, and that's how I declared. But before I do that, this was the poll. So Josh squeaked out a win on the poll, and then for the second straight year, Josh beat us. So again, Herb got just beat up by Acuna, and then Albies was terrible, and then Riley wasn't that good. It was just a rough year for the Atlanta Braves. Everybody's expecting to win 105 games or whatever, and
but Bobby Witt Jr. though, right? Look at that.
Yeah. I was carried by Judge, and you were carried by Witt, and then Josh, just solid and consistent all the way through, man. So that's what we got there.
Luis Robert was my worst performer.
Yeah, 1.4.
Not this time.
I almost made it a rule that each of us had to draft one White Sox player, but no.
Oh my god!
What would we have taken? So say Robert's gone. Who do you take then? Talkman? Because Vaughn doesn't get it. You know, the WAR part of his game is not there. So.
You know who I would take? Brandon Drury. That's who I would take.
There you go. He's gonna make the team, right?
Probably.
He kind of has to,
especially if Rojas can't go.
Yeah, I saw that. He's not. Was his hand right?
Toe. His right big toe. He's got a hairline fracture.
Alrighty then. Well, that's how.
The White Sox seem to think that you can take Miguel Vargas to the bank and maybe use him as a fantasy guy, but I'm not inclined to think that. He looks like, I know it's unfair for him to compare him to Nomar Bazaar, but that's what I get vibes of. Is like, oh, he's young. Eventually he'll do it. Like he had great numbers at the PCL, and the PCL is the PCL. So, everybody gets numbers there every time he's got a chance at the majors.
And the big problem with Vargas is where the
Miguel
hell do you
Vargas.
play him? Because he can't play in the field. Like, what do you? He's a first baseman. I don't know. Like, he can't play third. He's not good. Can't do it.
Third, he'll start at third. He'll start
know,
at third,
but,
I believe,
you know.
right, Josh?
That's the plan. Yes.
It's rough. Yikes.
Enjoy.
All right.
Gotta hit a bunch of home runs.
Oh, you know what? So this year we are
Sure.
not doing starting pitcher. So I'm taking that out here. Because I am going to do, and I'll announce that later, we're going to do a draft this Sunday where we're going to do pitchers with, I'm going to have Bruhan Luke, and then Nick Borowski is going to be on with me. So let me get rid of that real quick. And then we're all ready to go. So, Josh, you won the lottery, which, you should have because you're the champion here. Defending champion. So what do you got, Josh?
I'm going to repeat what I did last year. You have to go with Shohei Ohtani. At Sox Machine, we just had our 32 team fantasy baseball league. Over 650 players were selected in our draft. And I'm seeing every draft go with Ohtani. I don't think you're going to count pitching stats, but when you look at Zip's projections, I mean, Zips is projecting 45 home runs, 42 stolen bases. Still for Ohtani. So I've got to go with the consistency of Ohtani, especially at the plate. And I'm intrigued to see if he does pitch later this year for the Dodgers, what that looks like.
How many starts do you think he makes if he ends up pitching?
Well, if he goes in August, I bet they give him 5 and see where he's at. And if they can trust him to go in a game 3 or game 4 of a series in which the series is not on the line. Like they do not want to have Ohtani start a game where it's win or go home. I don't think. So I say he gets at least 5 starts and the Dodgers will evaluate whether or not Ohtani is strong enough to pitch in the postseason.
Yeah. You just can't not go Ohtani. I mean, there's just too much that he adds, even if he doesn't play the field or pitch, It's kind of there's just no way. Yeah. There's like 3 or 4 guys you probably could take one, but Ohtani's definitely the 1-1. So all right.
When it's all done, right? This guy, in my estimation, and many other people, if he's not there already, he'll be the best player of all time. So, like, you have to take him first. Like, there's no doubt about it. This guy with the bat is just dumb. It's ridiculous. There's no one way to get him out because he'll adjust in that same at bat or the later in that game and do some damage to you. The guy is just phenomenal. And if you haven't or you're watching this, have not seen him play, make your plans to be here when he comes to either guaranteed rate or whatever it's called now at Wrigley Field, because this is one of the players that your grandkids will be like, how was it like to see Shohei Ohtani? And it'll be terrible for you to say, yeah, I didn't see him.
Yeah. Well, alrighty then. I'm gonna go here. I think I'm gonna just go with the guy I took last year. I'm gonna go Aaron Judge. I mean, is he the best right-handed hitter we've seen in the last 20 years?
I will say no. I think Alex Rodriguez overall, whether or not you want to count steroids or PEDs, still though, you just look at A-Rod's baseball reference page and it's just stupid, especially the numbers that he posted later in his later years with Seattle and early years in Texas is just insane. PED boosted or not, A-Rod's ability to control the strike zone and just put up insane extra base numbers. I would still say Alex Rodriguez over Aaron Judge, but we have not seen a home run hitter like Aaron Judge since the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire days. He makes it look so easy to get to 55, 60 home runs. Like it's expected that Aaron Judge, as long as he can play 150 games this year, he should hit at least 50 home runs. It's just tremendous power. Like when we talk about scouting grades and we give an 80 grade to someone, 80 grade power is Aaron Judge. And if a
Right,
hitter
that's the
doesn't
standard,
possess
and
the
then it
same
goes-
type of power as Aaron Judge, then it's really hard for me to give any type of hitter 80 grade power. Like there's one guy who's got maybe two, maybe Ohtani as well, but really Aaron Judge, best power hitter in the league right now.
Right on. Yeah, and I think he's going to be a little more durable this year because he's going to be in right. He's probably going to Stanton getting hurt is probably going to help his numbers because he's probably going to DH quite a bit too, right?
There's just so much pressure now with Garrett Cole and Lucas Gill that if the Yankees stumble out of the gate and they're around 500 at Memorial Day, I understand your point about durability, but there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on Aaron Judge's shoulders to produce at a level that maybe only he can produce to help carry this team in what should be a very tough and tight race in the American League East.
You think they make a deal for a pitcher before the season starts?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. They're deep. I mean, they could make it work.
Well, they're
right.
counting on Max Fried and Carlos Rodon. They are not to be trusted health-wise either. So
yeah. I mean,
it's gonna be tough.
Clark Schmidt's probably their most reliable arm right now.
Yes,
and he's good. He's not a bad pitcher. Just boy, they wish they had King right now. I'm sure. But all right, Herb, you got your sandwich picks here, buddy.
Of course, since you guys done the thing that you got last year, picked your champions from last year, Shohei and Aaron Judge, I'll pick my champion also, and Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, the superlatives, they kind of miss with him. He's 24, going to be 25 in June this year, and he's done so much in his young major league career, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. This guy is just phenomenal. The hit tool, the home run tool, the average tool, the patience, everything you want, the speed, the top level speed, the base running. The guy is, as last year, I think I crowned Jose Ramirez the best player in the AL Central. There's no doubt anymore. It's Bobby Witt Jr. He might be the best player in the game, like how we're going towards that trajectory. The glove will improve, I believe, it's already pretty damn great, but it will improve even more. And I think, the thing that Shohei Ohtani has on him is that he pitches. And so, if it was just, hey, you are a DH and you're going against Bobby Witt Jr., I would pick Bobby Witt Jr. But the fact that Shohei Ohtani will pitch and will pitch well this year, I think that gives him the edge, of course. But Bobby Witt Jr. is right there with me. He's just a phenomenal player. I guess sad the White Sox have to see him so damn much.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny when you look at the statistics last year, he wasn't that far off of Judge. I mean, Judge had a 218 WRC plus, and Witt is so versatile and so well rounded that he almost got up there in WAR. Like he's as 5 tools you're gonna get. I think he's what most people thought Fernando Tatis Jr. was going to be when he started in San Diego. That's what you're getting out of Bobby Witt right now. Tatis is good, but this guy's next level, and I think he's going to play shortstop and be great for another 15 years.
Last year against the White Sox, Bobby Witt Jr. hit .469 with a .519 on base percentage and slugged .653.
Holy shit. The only thing I would say he needs to work on a little bit is he needs to get a little more patient. But I mean, when you hit 330, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Holy cow. Yeah. Bobby Witt against the American League Central, the Guardians 347 batting average, Tigers 346, Twins 353. Nobody in the American League Central can get that guy out last year. So we'll see if he continues that dominance. But he had an OPS over 1,000 against every team in the American League Central last year.
That's so scary, man. And he's not even, I don't think he's near his prime. I mean, a couple of years probably, right? Like,
I think he's in it right now.
I don't know, man. Like, he's so fucking young.
It's just gonna last so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the thing is, like eventually when he's in 30s, he won't be this fast, but I think he'll still be pretty damn fast. But I think the hit tool will improve.
They'll move him to third base. He'll be like Machado at that point, you know? Yeah.
It's what good teams do. Draft good shortstops.
Draft? What's that?
In that vein.
All right.
Draft
you got your next one, buddy. You're up again.
All right. I had a tough time between these two players, but we talked about them just a second ago. I mean, I'm gonna go with it. I'm a homer. I'm a very big time San Diego Padres fan. So you got a slice, a little taste of Fernando Tatis last year. Decent. Not his best. Full year. He's back off the drug suspension, way over, the injury over. I think you're going to get a spectacular year out of Fernando Tatis Jr. And his glove in right field is pretty much one of the best, and he'll win a platinum glove again.
He's scary. He's scary as long as he can stay healthy. Just real scary.
That he's natural White Sox. Always hurt. Maybe that's the ringworm medication.
There's the there's the rub on that one. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised still that it didn't work out at shortstop, but he just didn't have the accuracy with his arm, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because he's the best. He's one of the best right fielders in the game.
He is, and now they have the problem of that other. They did the problem with paying a shortstop that's not a good shortstop, and Xander Bogaerts, man.
And he's the third best shortstop on that roster, probably, because Jackson Merrill could probably play shortstop too, right?
Easily. I mean, yeah. And maybe even Cronenworth's better than him too. But yeah, it's an albatross. This is why Jerry Reinsdorf was probably looking at that contract like, see, told you, 7 more years for Xander Bogaerts. That's why you don't pay players.
Oh, I like Xander Bogaerts. It's kind of sad that he's not doing well out there. But all right, let's keep moving here. I think Judge misses his buddy, so I'm gonna go Juan Soto here.
Solid.
Yeah, the middle of that Mets lineup, because I think that Vientos is going to be really, really good. Vientos and Alonso, after table set with Lindor, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to drive in a lot of runs. Yeah, I obviously not the best in the field, but outside of Ohtani, he's the best left-handed bat I've seen in a while. So I'm going to go that route. Is he the best hitter in the National League now? Well, outside of Ohtani?
Yes. I think I would put him second behind Ohtani. The batting eye for Soto is tremendous, and for the Dodgers, they are getting a little bit older. Freddie Freeman had to be scratched because of a rib injury. Mookie Betts is not a spring chicken anymore. That 1-2 punch of Lindor and Juan Soto, man, what are you going to do? And this is pretty popular in sports betting circles. The sharps, so the experts, those that make a living on sports betting, they're putting a lot of cash on Pete Alonso to lead the majors in RBIs because he's going to be batting behind both Soto and Lindor. So the amount of RBI opportunities that Peter Alonso is going to have in 2025, especially if Brandon Nimmo can stay healthy. I mean, you got 3 guys that have an on-base percentage well above 350 batting in front of Peter Alonso. So again, it's a big if, but if the Mets can keep everyone healthy and squash their demons, because the Mets will Mets at some point this season. But if they can hold that off, I mean, that's going to be a lineup that can definitely contend with the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League.
And their pitching is the hard part for the Mets, is they're just not deep.
Well, I mean, that's the problem throughout the entire National League. The only team that I'm really confident pitching wise is Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And I love the Phillies. I love that team. The Pirates with Skeens and Jones, that could be a great 1-2 punch, but I don't know what they're going to do offensively. I think that's going to be the big story when we go into June. Who's got the pitching in the National League to outlast other teams? And that's where we could have some surprises in who gets one of the wild cards in the National League. It's just because their pitchers performed and stayed healthy. A team like the Arizona Diamondbacks could have a pretty stacked starting rotation going into this season. But I think that's going to be the overall thing, because the Dodgers could have a problem real fast. The Mets are currently dealing with an issue right now when it comes to pitching. The Braves could have an issue as well. And we'll see if San Diego keeps Dylan Cease or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the National League Central is going to be a lot like the American League Central was last year, and that there's going to be a couple of teams that surprise you. I think the Cardinals suck, but I think the Reds are going to be a lot better than people think they are. I think the Pirates with that pitching can be pretty good, and then the Cubs and the Brewers will probably be at least a little over 500. So I think they have 4 teams that could win that division.
Yeah. So is it my turn to pick? Because you mentioned the Reds.
Yeah, you got 2 here.
I'm going to take Ella De La Cruz as my shortstop. And Ella De La Cruz, I had the 2nd overall pick in the Sox Machine 32 team fantasy draft. I'm on the Reds hype train because of Terry Francona. I think Francona is going to figure out the Reds' secret formula to get this team on the right track. And Ella De La Cruz last year had over 50 stolen bases and 25 home runs. And if he can do that again with Terry Francona, I think he's going to be at least considered in the top 3 of MVP in the National League, which, I mean, we already talked about Ohtani. We already talked about Soto and Lindor. I think De La Cruz is going to have a monster season for the Cincinnati Reds. So I have him at shortstop. This is more of a logic play. Suddenly, there's an issue at third base across Major League Baseball. So I'm going to take the third baseman that I can count on, and that's Jose Ramirez. And it's going to be interesting to see, because just a couple years ago, third base was a stacked position across Major League Baseball. I think if I remember correctly, you had more than 10 teams have a 3-WAR third baseman, and it felt like going to the golden age of third baseman in Major League Baseball. Right now, because of injuries and age, it seems that that's taken a step back on how many third baseman teams can depend on. There is Nolan Arenado out there at some point if a team needs to improve at third base. But right now, I'm going to go with the most dependable third baseman in Major League Baseball, and that's still Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, that's who I was going to take next. So good job there. Yeah, it's the difference between Ramirez and everybody else in the pack there's just too much there. He's my MVP pick this year. Actually, I think he's finally going to get it.
I think that might be a bit of a stretch in the American League. He's got some real tough competition, especially if Bobby Witt Jr. is going to have 1,000 OPS against everybody in the American League Central. But
yeah.
I mean, he could be on the Hall of Fame path. I'd have to do more investigating, but I mean, he's definitely going to get his number retired by the Guardians, but phenomenal career.
Yeah, whoever convinced him to sign that contract should be fucking fired right now. So,
he likes Cleveland, man.
I know, he's the only one. No, really, like who wanted? I'm not going to joke him, Noah, you guys, but who wants to play in Cleveland? Like, a team that doesn't spend money typically, a team that likes to blow shit up. They're like the Midwest Marlins. They build it up and they blow it up.
Well, unlike the Marlins, though, the Guardians keep winning. So I don't know if I would use the Marlins. Maybe they're the Midwest Tampa Bay Rays, but yeah, the Marlins don't. They don't do either. They don't spend nor win. So,
well, I'm talking about the old school Marlins when they brought Sheffield and all those guys in, and then a year after they won the World Series, they got rid of everybody.
Oh yeah, they bought that World Series. Yes,
they definitely bought that World Series.
Yeah, the only reason that Jose stayed is because he took the hometown discount. Like, if he would have went onto the market, he would have made a killing out there. But I don't know why Cleveland's crying poor. The stadium, while it's not full, it's pretty decently packed. It feels that way, especially when the White Sox go out there. So, and this the family, I think the patriarch died last year, so maybe some cash problems there, but they've never really spent. Like, they wasted so much of their recent success. The 90s Guardians, Indians, and now, like, I think they're
Best lineup
wasting
I've
their
ever seen.
time. Yeah, like, no championships. Like, I know Joe Table could have got the job done in the ninth. They would have had one, but none. All that talent? Sad. And coaching talent. You guys just talked about Tito Francona. The man's a genius.
He is. He really is. And that's why I think the Reds are really gonna shock some people. But yeah, Josh, you threw me for a loop here. I wasn't expecting you to take Jose. I was gonna grab him. I'm gonna go to another switch hitting infielder. I think he was the second best player in the National League last year. So I'm gonna go Ketel Marte to be my second baseman.
Second base also suddenly an issue in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. Exactly why I'm taking him this early. But it's one of those guys, kind of, I mean, he's been good. He's had a couple of years where he's down and up and down, but yeah, I mean, he's just a hell of a player. A lot of pop. So last year 151 WRC plus, which was good for, where was he? 10th in the league. So then he plays a middle infield position with that bat. So got to go with that one. What do you think of Arizona, you guys? I like that team a lot. Like, I think there might be the second best team in baseball if their pitching can hold up.
I'm not that high that they're the second best team in baseball, but they're the only team that I think can seriously challenge Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West. I do expect the Diamondbacks to make the postseason this year as a wild card, which would make them pretty dangerous. I have them finishing second in the National League West as the only team that could really challenge. I'm not that big of a believer in San Francisco. I think San Diego, with the ownership change, is closer to a teardown than contending.
Yep.
And then the Rockies. The Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I feel like if they can get something out of one of those big money lefties that they have, Montgomery or Eduardo Rodriguez, like if they can get anything out of those two, they already have 3-4 good arms, and I think Corbin Carroll's going to have a bigger year this year than he fell apart last year. So. But all right, Herb, you got two more here.
It's a solid ass pick right there. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go and finish off my catching position already. I mean, I think the chasm has grown because Adley Rutschman's troubles in the second half of the season. So I'm gonna go with William Contreras as my catcher for this year, just as solid as can be. The glove has improved so vastly, I think, due in part to new White Sox. I don't know what his title is, Walker McKinven, who was really doing some things with the catchers up there in Milwaukee and going over game plans with the pitcher and the catcher. So I think his bat was always there. The catching has improved. So I think this guy is going to have another breakout year. You see Milwaukee every year, you're like, oh, they gave up that guy, Corbin Burns, last year. They're going to fall off. Nope. Oh, man, they lost so many players this offseason. What are they going to do? It's going to be a bloodbath. They can't even compete with the Cubs this year. Every single year, you doubt them. Every single year, you see the Milwaukee Brewers at the top of that NL Central. I'm not picking them for this year because I think the Cubs are just too tough. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won the NL Central again, and because William Contreras is driving that bus.
It's a hell of a hitter too. I mean, it's credit to him for learning how to catch. Because he, like, when he came in, he was horrible. It was like Omar Narvaez again. You know what I mean? Like, and didn't he get fixed in Milwaukee too?
Narvdog, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he was a horrible catcher when he was here, and then he left, and all of a sudden learned how to catch. Is that an organizational issue for on our end at that point, or what?
I mean,
But
I
yeah,
think that
what do you call him? A catching coordinator? You mentioned like what his position is. Like, that's pretty much what it is, right?
yeah,
Well, Walker McKibben is the bench coach now for the White Sox.
Oh, okay.
thank you, sir.
Yes. Drew Batera is the catching coordinator for the White Sox.
He has a nice grocery store. Do those even exist anymore? I'm just fucking around.
I have no idea. That's a stretch.
Yep, a little bit. All right, Herb, you get another one.
And for my designated hitter, I'm going with Yordan Alvarez. Like, this guy has everything you want and a hitter. Like, I just go by White Sox games usually, and I know he does this for other people, but I recall, I think it was the beginning of 2023, we started Ronaldo Lopez in that game, and Ronaldo Lopez threw Yordan Alvarez, I believe, a fastball, 100 miles per hour, bottom of the zone, inside. I think it was called a ball. And I think the next pitch he throws him like a mid-90s slider in that same area. And the like, you can't get away with a mistake like that in the same area. Like, he sped up his bat and he absolutely murdered the pitch. And every time I see him against the White Sox, I fear for the White Sox lives, because I think it's just going to be a bloodbath. I don't know the splits, but it has to be somewhere astronomical versus the White Sox in particular. And I know it's astronomical versus the rest of the major leagues, but this guy is also awesome. I don't know what they're doing down there in Houston to produce left-handed power like they have with him and Kyle Tucker, but they're doing it right.
Yeah, especially in that park, because that's a right-handed park, really. Like that short porch out and left. Yeah, him and Tucker really learned how to hit some bombs out there. I listened to our old episodes while I was driving to work the other day, and I've made the joke 2 years in a row. What would have happened if Yordan Alvarez hadn't been traded from the Dodgers? But yeah.
He'd be in the outfield.
Yeah. He'd be playing. They wouldn't have Michael Conforto. They'd have Yordan Alvarez instead. All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna go. With my first baseman. I had a couple in mind, but I'm gonna go Bryce Harper again. I think he's gonna have a bigger year this year than he did last year. He kind of fell off a little bit towards the end. Was he dealing with some injuries last year?
Well, yeah, Tommy John.
Well,
can't throw like he used to.
Right. But yeah, his power numbers kind of fell off a little bit towards the second half of the year. But yeah, he's still pounding the ball. He had mentioned recently that he told the team, like, if you want to put me back out in right field, I'm good with that. But for now, he's going to play first. He likes playing first base, apparently.
He'll get better at it, I think. The Phillies don't need another right fielder. The Phillies need a center fielder badly. I think
I know one that might be available
playing right field. So,
yeah, Castellanos never should play the field in any capacity ever.
Well, I mean, you got Schwarber though. He's your
right.
DH.
Right. Well, they're stuck. Yeah, they don't really have any other options. But
yeah.
Is Marsh playing center still?
I think so. I think that's what they're going to try.
Can I ask
that's
you,
a
fellas,
team that could target Luis Robert, depending on how their first half goes.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to ask you guys. Like, is there a deal that you have in mind with the Phillies that would satisfy you? Like, is there a prospect in particular you think you have to just hold out for? Unless you get this prospect, you're going to hold on to Luis Robert?
Well, the rumor that we heard in Dallas during the winter meetings is that Dombrowski, when kicking the tires on Luis Robert, mentioned Justin Crawford being the top prospect at the moment that the Phillies were willing to part with. They obviously have Andrew Painter, but that's another top end pitcher. And you always need more pitching, but the White Sox definitely need some more dependable position player prospects that they can count on. I don't know if the Phillies have the ammo to make a trade work with Luis Robert, especially if Luis Robert bounces back. But it's never stopped Dave Dombrowski in the past and making deals. He's a wizard in getting these types of deals done. So we'll see. But that's what we heard of the winter meetings was Justin Crawford.
That lineup has so much firepower that all you need is a guy that can just play the position. You know, like defensively, they're pretty rough out there. So
that's right. It was Crawford and Alec Bohm. And that didn't make sense contract-wise because Alec Bohm's only got like 2 more years left of control.
Yeah, I would have loved to have had that guy on the team, but at the same time, I think it's time for Robert to get dealt at some point this season. But hopefully he builds up his value. That's all you got to hope for. But if they'd have traded him for just some flyers and like one good prospect, I'd have been fine. I know a lot of fans would fucking lose their minds, but I think they're thinking of Luis Robert higher than Luis Robert actually is, I think.
Well, we'll see how this first half goes. But if Robert breaks this first half, there'll be some interest. Yeah. Center field is also becoming an issue around Major League Baseball because of injuries and age.
Yeah.
Which is why with my next pick,
boom.
I'm taking Julio Rodriguez to Seattle. And I don't know what to make of the Seattle Mariners, but they go as far as Julio takes him, it feels like, offensively. I like Cal Raleigh, the catcher, as well, but Seattle's got everything on the pitching front. But if this offense doesn't click early, and again, they had a 10-game lead last year in the division that they blew. And that cannot happen again, or people are going to start losing their jobs, or somebody like Luis Castillo is going to be available at the trade deadline if Seattle stumbles out of the gate. So I am expecting Julio Rodriguez to step up his game, especially early in the season, to help carry Seattle offensively and defensively. My next pick, I think, is going to be the talk of the town in Chicago all summer long, and that's Kyle Tucker.
Damn it.
I think Kyle Tucker in Wrigley Field is a perfect match. Kyle Tucker was awesome to start last year, and I know that I won last year, and Kyle Tucker was a big part of that, but he got hurt, and he missed more than half of the season last year, and he was on pace to have like an 8-WAR type of season. And because he's in a contract year, I think Kyle Tucker is going to ball out. We're talking like 6 to 7 type of WAR season from Kyle Tucker, and just cash in during the offseason and be one of the most targeted free agents. And he's timing this well that the CBAs hasn't expired yet. So he still has plenty of time and can shop around and talk to as many people as he wants. But Kyle Tucker is going to be a very rich man. I think he's going to take advantage of Wrigley Field during the summer, and Cubs fans are absolutely going to love him. And they're going to be so angry when he signs with somebody else during the offseason. But they're going to love him while he's here. So Julio Rodriguez and Kyle Tucker.
Nice picks, buddy. I don't know what to say. I love both those guys a lot. Julio Rodriguez, personal story. He threw a ball and signed a ball for my nephew when he was at Guaranteed Rate a couple of years ago. And just nice guy. He spends a lot of time with the fans. Hell of a player. Tucker, how much money you think Tucker's going to get next offseason if he has a big year in Chicago? Using like the Soto deal as like a baseline. I mean, he's not going to get that, but
he's a little older. At $400 million, I can see him doing.
So like 10 years, 400.
So he'll still be 28 when he's a free agent. He'll be turning 29 in January. So he should be demanding an 8-9 year type of contract. I would bet it's like 8 years, 320 million gets you at least into negotiations to go from there. Like 40 million a year is where we are seeming to head right now. Not only in baseball, but the National Football League as well. Jamar Chase, get that bag. Yeah. So I the way that he has played, I mean, he's already been worth 22.8 WAR. He's already hit 125 home runs in his career. The knock on him, though, you know, outside of COVID, you know, 2021 through 2023, he was pretty consistent, more than 5 WAR each season, playing more than 140 games. Last year, just 78 games. So again, I think it's critical for Kyle Tucker. If he plays 150 games this year and is consistent throughout the entire season and helps the Cubs get into the postseason, then I don't think it's crazy to say it's going to take an 8-year, $320 million offer just to get a seat at the table. I don't think that's going to be the final deal, but that at least gets you in the negotiation room.
So you can be a Dodger then?
Might as well.
No, that's a good question.
Also, I want to know, like, what is the buyout? What is the number the Cubs can pay him before he hits the free agent market that he says, all right, cool, I'm going to stay here in Chicago? Is there a number? Like, if they offer him some ridiculous amount of like 450 for 12, and he's like, hey, that's more money than I thought I can get on the free market. And you probably have to pay some type of tax if you're the Cubs to try to sign him to a long-term deal, which I don't think he'll be doing during the season.
He's not a Boris client. So that's the good news. But that's for now.
For now.
Yeah, Boris had a decent offseason.
Dansby Swanson and Kyle Tucker share the same agency.
Interesting. And Dansby stole some money from the Cubs, so why not Kyle, who's actually great?
He's okay. Yeah. I'm still shocked they made that trade. And is Cam Smith gonna make the Astros?
That's a great question. I don't know. He's
they're
certainly
playing right
it.
field, right? They're playing Altuve in left and him in right. Two guys who never played in the outfield. I thought that was kind of interesting. That might be a recipe for fucking disaster out there. But
yeah, I'm not sure. Houston's keeping it close to the chest right now.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting story because he only played like 30 games in the minors. That's wild. Good for him. Bad for the Cubs. All right. I'm going to finish off my outfield guy that we kind of forgot because he got hurt last year, and guy that fucked Herb's team last year. I'm going to go Ronald Acuna Jr. Look at that outfield, guys. Come on. Look at that pretty outfield. I don't know who the hell's playing center field, but
Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is your center fielder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit the ball to right field as much as I can.
So he was hurt in 22. He was an MVP in 23. He was hurt in 24, so maybe he'll be an MVP again in 25. What do you think?
Well, he's not coming back until May. He's already made it known he's not going to try to bother stealing 70 bases. So he's going to reduce the amount of stolen base attempts. We'll see. We'll see how this goes for Acuna Jr. I think he may be a little bit more passive than he has been in the past. So your WAR total, I think, is going to have to really depend on how much he swings for the fences.
Yeah.
And I mean, he certainly has the power. But yeah, we won't see him until May.
Well, it's not that far away. I knew he was going to be out for a little while. I didn't know it was going to be until May, but yeah, he'll still. hopefully that Braves team just everybody stopped hitting last year. Everybody, except for Ozuna.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ozuna was great last year, but the rest of the team nobody hit. But all right, Herb, 2 more, man.
I'm going with third base Matt Chapman. As you know, the Cubs had a chance to sign him last year. I remember arguing with Cub fans about like this is who you need on your team, and now they're going through rookie pains. And I know it was just his first game, but he was the guy. He is as solid as you can come at third base. Went out to San Francisco and did it with the bat a little bit too, but like solid third baseman. But Josh already picked Jose Ramirez, so I can't get the best third baseman in the game. So I got to go downshift to Matt Chapman. And then I'm going to stay out in San Diego. I don't believe in slumps. I don't believe in sophomore slumps. And we're talking about center fielders, all former shortstop, as you brought up earlier, Brian. Jackson Merrill.
Wow.
I think he's not going to have the sophomore slump. He's got protection over there. I mean, this might be the last hurrah for this version of the Padres, and I think that he will be one of the people with the guy, his outfield mate right there, Fernando Tatis Jr., as the people who carry this Padres offensive load for the most part. Because while Manny's still there, he's you can see him dwindling a little bit.
He's slowing down, yeah.
Fernando and Jackson are the future, and while we have Manny still at a decent pace, a pretty good pace, these two guys will be at ascending to their collective prime. So Jackson Merrill, I'm very impressed with his quick shift to center field and pretty much doing that flawless too.
Right on. That's a good pick. I love what that guy did last year. In the playoffs too, or in the he was really really good.
Lots of game-winning home runs.
He was 15th in FWAR last year. So yeah, definitely. He needs to work. The only thing he needs to work on is, again, he needs to work on his patience at the plate. 4.9 walk rate is pretty brutal, but yeah, everything else is there. Those guys learning the outfield so easily. Like if you're that athletic, I don't think it matters. That's why I think O'Neal Cruz is going to be awesome this year as long as he stays healthy. But yeah, I hope he doesn't have a sophomore slump because I loved watching him play. So definitely good pick, buddy. My turn here. Okay. I'm gonna go with my DH. I'm gonna just go ahead. I believe this is the same exact DH I took last year, which is Corey Seager. Another guy that he's good. He hits the ball really, 140 WRC plus last year. He struggled a bit in the field. He was not good at short. I think eventually you'll see him move to third or even first base, but he just keeps hitting. As long as he stays healthy, he keeps hitting. So I'm gonna go Seager.
I think he's gonna have a good season for Texas. I think he's gonna bounce back.
Texas was a lot like Atlanta. Their bats kind of disappeared a little bit. So, but again, he still had the 14th best WRC plus in the league last year. So, not bad for a down year,
Are you sure you want that, Brian?
Is he hurt? Is he hurt?
No, okay. I'm doing the Slavko. Paraphrasing.
Well,
man.
This also happened in the Sox Machine 32-team fantasy baseball draft. Somehow this guy fell all the way to the 32 in the third round. So, like in the 75th pick, Mike Trout was taken because everybody forgot about Mike Trout. So I'm taking Mike Trout. I'm going to take a risk here, moving over to right field. Wow. I think Mike Trout's going to hit more than 40 homers this year. Secretly, I think he's on the trade market. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to pick up. As far as that contract, he's going to be turning 33 it's weird to say Mike Trout's got a dead cat bounce in him, but after the last 2 seasons, just completely devastated by injuries, I think Mike Trout bounces back in a big way. And first base, I got to take the contract guy. I'm taking Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He wants that bag. He's got to prove it. And I think this is Vlad Jr. is going to be highly motivated to hit for Toronto this year. I'm expecting a 40 home run season with Vlad Jr. So while my team is pretty impressive, I think Vlad and Mike Trout are the ones that are going to be giving me the home run power here, as well as Shohei. But yeah, I'm happy with the back-to-back picks here later on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really liking my lineup right now. But just like the Sox Machine Fantasy Baseball Draft, people forgot about Mike Trout. He's still Mike Trout. If he plays more than 120 games, he's going to have a big season.
Yeah. Who's playing center for them? Adele?
Sure.
Moniak?
It doesn't matter.
That team sucks, man. They're just bad. It's a bad run team. They got lucky. They got lucky with Trout all these years. Yeah. Is he gonna you think he's probably DH more than play in right field, or
He could, but it sounds like they want him to be in right field. They need him out in the outfield. Yeah, Joe Adele's going to be in center field. Taylor Ward is your projected left field. He can't be DH because they have Jorge Soler now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's
big season.
I love him. He's a good dude. He's a hell of a player, and I hope he continues to, or I hope he gets healthy and keeps moving, because he was on the way to being one of the best ever. So hopefully he can learn it again and pull it out again, you know.
He's got an outside shot of 100 career WAR, like an outside chance.
That's fucking disgusting. It's already 80 something, right?
85.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go grab a catcher right now. And you mentioned Cal Raleigh earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I like Cal Raleigh a lot. He just keeps hitting bombs, and he's a hell of a catcher too. Very underrated guy. Catcher's like, you mentioned center field, you mentioned third base. It's kind of a dwindling position. You don't get much out of them offensively anymore. I know a couple of years ago I took JT Realmuto in the first round and bit me in the ass, and I think last year I took Sean Murphy and bit me in the ass, and they're fucking brave, right, Herb? Yeah, I'm gonna go Cal Raleigh because I don't think there's too many out there. There's only like 3 or 4 catchers you really would consider with this pick. So yeah, I'll go that route. And he has to hit, or Seattle's fucked. Just like Julio. You are absolutely right. If those two don't hit, that team's not going anywhere. They have a great rotation, but nothing else. Are you gonna get Jorge Polanco to learn how to hit again? But all right, Herb.
I'm gonna go with a guy who had an off year last year, but he's been consistently great offensively since he left the White Sox. Of course, it's Marcus Semien. He is as solid as they come when you go to second base, and how long he's done it. He's gonna go into his age, I think 37, 35, 35th year this year.
He's 34 right now. Yeah.
As consistent as they come with 6 WAR, 4 WAR. Yeah, 6 WAR, 4 WAR. Like every year, just consistent play. And that's what I need for my team. We saw last year, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And in last season, he was, league average hitter. And we know that's not Marcus Semien. Yeah, he might be dwindling a little bit, but I think he'll get me a nice 3.5 to 5 WAR season, and I'll be solid for second base.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that one. That's a very, very solid pick. Second base is rough. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at F4, yeah.
Let's see. Build. Am I frozen? Am I here? You hear me?
No, you're here. You're good. You did buffer a little
You got
bit,
me,
but you're
guys?
good now.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So we're at first base or outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot my cheat sheet at. Sorry, guys. Get my cheat sheet out.
You're good.
All right. Since we're here at first base and we talked about it a little earlier, I'll go with Pete Alonso at first base.
Interesting. He's
He
get
still
like
needs
like
to
Josh
get
said, a lot of
his
opportunity.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Like his deal, he can get out and test it again, see if he can get a real offer out there. Because I think he went out to the free agent waters and realized it was cold out there, real cold. So
Cold
unless
for
you're
first
putting
baseman, it sure is.
yeah, unless you're putting up prodigious numbers, you're going to be the deal he settled for, which is not a bad deal. It's just not what he expected.
No. It's basically the same deal that Bellinger got, right? Except Bellinger was shit before the deal.
Real shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I still loved him having the White Sox that year that he was available for trade when the Cubs got him.
Absolutely.
Those are the type of deals the White Sox should be doing. Those for doing resurgent. Then at the time I said, it's like, if you're doing the whole, hey, we can get this guy on a low cost and flip him by July, Bellinger would have been the perfect guy to get a couple years ago and actually got you something coming back to you and that you can actually use in the future instead of rolling the dice with Brandon Drury, which I don't think even if he does well, I don't know what that really gets the White Sox in return.
Paul DeJong.
Nothing.
It'd be Paul DeJong again.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they just spent a little bit more money and got a little bit better of talent here. Yeah, I actually like, let's stop for 1 second. I just want to mention Sox. What they did in the offseason is what good teams should do. Teams that already have built up their roster by getting guys like Talkman and Slater, and those guys are good utility backup guys that play once or twice a week, but we're going to play them 6 or 7 days a week. So
Yes.
that's what they did. And I like a lot of those moves, but not for this fucking team. But all right, story for another time, I guess. Maybe I'll just dig up pop-up socks again and just start yelling into the camera one night. All right, I'm going to go with my third baseman here. He doesn't want to play anywhere but third base. Just remember, I'm going to go Rafael Devers. And I think he's the type of guy that has something to prove now that they want to take his spot away, which is fucking nonsense because he should move to first base. He should play DH because he's not good at third base, but he can fucking hit a lot. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Boston manages that because I don't know if Bregman. Why would you give that kind of money to a Gold Glove third baseman and put him at second base? That's fucking silly. It's fucking silly, right?
Yeah, and I think Devers is now more open to be DH, so he got over it. His mentality entering spring training was, I'm going to beat Bregman defensively and prove that I'm not going to be moved off my position.
Right.
A couple of weeks into spring training, you know what? I'm actually open to being a DH. That's fine. But instead of signing Bregman, it costs the Red Sox and getting Nolan Arenado. So it still worked out for the Red Sox getting Bregman. All right. So I got catcher and second base.
Yep.
I'm going to stick with the same team. So catcher, I'm going Adley Rutschman. And second base, I want to take a wild card here. I'm aiming for someone that we're really not talking about, that could explode and could be a 3 or 4 win player, and that's Jackson Holiday. Everything from Sarasota, Florida, the old spring training home with the Chicago White Sox at Ed Smith Stadium, that's where the Orioles are, is that Holiday is a lot more aggressive. He's changed his swing. He's more prepared for this upcoming major league season than he was last year. And there seems to be a lot more confidence. He's having a pretty strong spring this year. I'm mentioning this because I think he's also somebody that's overlooked in a lot of fantasy drafts. Right now, Holiday's batting 314, 385, 486. Those are his splits. During spring training, the 10% walk rate, if he can carry that over, if he's a 10% walk rate type of guy at second base for the Orioles, I don't think he's going to be their future shortstop. He doesn't need to be that anymore. He just needs to focus on second base because Gunnar Henderson is the shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. And I think Jackson Holiday put too much pressure on himself to exceed right away. I think that really hurt him. I expect a bounce back type of season. So again, I'm going out there, but second base is such a weak position around Major League Baseball. Give me the high upside guy. Give me Jackson Holiday.
You're taking, that's a stretch, but definitely that could hit real big for you. And the fact that the position's kind of dead outside of,
I mean, my other option was Andres Jimenez.
Yeah.
And doing the podcast, we did a preview with the Locked On Guardians guys, and offensively last year, Andres Jimenez player comp was Yolmer Sanchez, which, if we're talking about WAR, yeah, Andres Jimenez is attractive. He can be not only the Gold Glove second baseman, but he is a Platinum Glove type of caliber defensive player. And maybe in Toronto, he hits a little bit more. But I know Andres Jimenez can be also very disappointing offensively and just disappear, and then he's only a defensive player. I'm hoping to get a little bit of everything with Jackson Holiday with this pick.
It's one of those picks that definitely will hit well if it does. Because if you look at, I'm looking at the list right now. I ranked just 2024 second baseman by FWAR, and it's like Nico Horner's third. Where are you going to go? Like Nico Horner, Brendan Donovan, Luis Garcia Jr. That guy might be interesting actually, but Terang in Milwaukee, Bryson Stott.
I like Bryce Terang.
I like Terang too, but he can't hit. He wasn't like, he's fast. He plays the position really well, but he still hasn't hit, you know? Yeah. I mean, you could take a stretch and go like maybe Gleyber Torres figures it out in Detroit.
Maybe.
I thought that was a great signing, honestly, but that was a good move for them because they have a couple of big lefty bats. So if that guy can hit after them, like but yeah, what else? I'm just looking at second base. You got Arise. Is he even going to play second base? Jonathan India, who's it? Is he going to play second in Kansas City?
Arise is going to play first first of DH in San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that position's worse than third base. You know? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go grab my shortstop, and I don't think it's that. Well, there's a couple I could have gone with. I could have put Seager there, but I'm gonna go. I gotta go Frankie Lindor. I'm actually surprised at how he managed to turn his career around, because he had a couple of rough years when he got over to New York, and he's been awesome the last couple of years. So that's another 5-tool guy. Like he can do everything. He's fast, he's Gold Glove shortstop, he gets on base, he hits for power, just a little bit of everything. So I'm gonna go that route. I like my switch hitting middle infield.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm a switch hitter.
Trade.
I love switch hitters in general. So
you are very left-handed. Yeah. Well, I mean,
switch left. Switch,
yeah, I was gonna say
left.
you're kind of
left.
You have the platoon advantage here. Okay, I like your little strategy.
Like, what the hell?
This was an actual team. You would be a pain in the ass to plan for.
Yeah, I got three switch hitters, 2 righties, and many lefties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
You'd have a good
I like
weekend
it.
against the White Sox.
If Mike Trout has a big year, we're fucked though. Josh is taking it again if Mike Trout has a big year. But all right, Mr. Relevant Irrelevant for Herb here.
I was gonna go with Jaron Durant, but no, I'm not, because fuck him. I'm gonna go instead with somebody else that I think will have a year that I thought he was gonna have last year, and I picked him last year, and he did not, even though it was a pretty solid year. He had what people called a sophomore slump when they picked it up. I'm going Corbin Carroll. I think we're talking about those D-backs, and this is the key for them competing in that always tough now NL West. Like, those teams are just so good. Like, the Dodgers do have the best team, but all the rest of those teams besides the Rockies are going to give every one of those other teams and other teams in the major leagues fits all year long because they're 4 deep. And I think the D-backs had a disappointing year last year, but I think they'll be back this year. And Corbin Carroll will be a big part of that. The Corbins out there will be shining in Arizona.
Well, and you saw Corbin Carroll figuring it back out again towards the tail end of the season. He hit really well, and it's funny because we say he has a down year, and he was 9th in FWAR among outfielders last year. So, yeah, that's a hell of a pick. He was definitely on my list. Yeah, outfield is so fucking deep. I mean, as long as we don't have to pick specific outfield, you know. It's an easy position to draft. So, yeah. Is there anybody that we didn't pick that you're surprised we didn't pick?
Well, again, there's just 3 of us. And when you look at shortstop, I don't think you can argue with Ellie De La Cruz, Francisco Lindor, and Bobby Witt Jr. unless you're out in Baltimore. Yeah. Us not taking Gunnar Henderson could bite us in the ass. Like, Gunnar Henderson could be the best shortstop in baseball this season. But to your point, you could have 5 shortstops be 5 WAR or better. And there's just 3 of us. So we're going to look dumb, like leaving 2 of them off the board. Like, how did you not have them? Well, my other shortstop was also 5 WAR. Like, I still got great production, but Gunnar Henderson is the one that jumps out to me that we did not take on the position player side.
Okay. He has the highest of players that we didn't pick tonight. He had the highest FWAR in 2024. Number 2 was Jarrett Duran. Number 3, let me see, Brent Rooker.
Yeah, that's DH only. Let's see how Sacramento plays. For Sox Machine, we are sending James Fegan to Sacramento to cover that series. So we'll get first-person look on what baseball is like in Sacramento. But I'm curious on how things go and how hitting goes in Sacramento early. But yeah, Rooker could be another 40 home run type of guy. If the ball flies out of the ballpark at Sacramento, yeah, Brent Rooker could have a huge season.
He should be very happy. Fegan should be very happy that they're playing them earlier in the year because it's going to be a fucking nightmare in the summer there. I don't know if you've ever been to Sacramento, but it's like 110. And they're playing outside. Like, it's gonna nobody's gonna be at the fucking park. Like, seriously, and people are gonna be dropping because that's how hot it gets out there. Like, did they think that through when they decided to play there? Because
no,
they're playing in Vegas.
Yeah, well, they're gonna play a dome in Vegas, right? I mean, wow,
they'll be fine.
I mean, I guess I don't know if they're even built the stadium yet. They're not even close to building the stadium yet.
Yeah, it's gonna take
Las
a while.
Vegas, Salt Lake City. What's the difference?
Oh man, I wanted to go to Sacramento, and I'm like, well, the Sox are playing there in April, and my job, I can't do that. But you know, I may go out there like later in the fall, or whatever, before the season ends, to just say I went to a Major League Baseball game in Sacramento. You know.
Well, they're going to be there for a couple years.
Right on. The Adley Rutschman pick that was your second to last pick.
Yeah.
That I thought about him like 3 times, and I'm like, you know what? I think Cal Raleigh's just gonna be a little bit better this year, but that could bite me in the ass too. Like that's another
took the
guy.
3 best catchers.
For sure.
The DHs that like we're a left of the board because there's only 3 of us: Brent Rooker, Kyle Schwarber. On the DH side, but no, I think we have. I think we have solid teams. I mean, obviously we missed on a Lenine Sosa. I mean, that's a big miss on our end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like our teams.
Right on. Well, let me ask you a couple of questions about the Sox for you two, just before we get off here. Who's the opening day shortstop?
Who the fuck knows? I don't know. And James is down there. James will be back there tomorrow. And he is keeping an ear in the ground. He's trying to talk to everyone right now to get some insight. As we are streaming here on March 18th, I don't think the White Sox know.
That's wild.
It is wild. And some people are, I don't know if they're calling me out, but they're pointing out, be like, I don't think it's fair, Josh, to say it's bad GMing on Chris Getz's part. I'm sorry it is. If your plan A going to spring training was that Colson Montgomery is going to give every opportunity to win the job, and you don't bring in a veteran shortstop to seriously challenge him, and he has a back injury and he can't go, and your remaining options are Jacob Maya, who you DFA'd to start the offseason, and Chase Mydroth. And with Josh Rojas now dealing with a hairline fracture in his big toe, you may not want him, or he may not even be ready to go opening day. This literally can be last man standing for the Chicago White Sox at shortstop. Like, that's not even plan A. That's not even plan B. I don't think that's even plan C. But you didn't really add in depth. You didn't bring in anyone to challenge Colson Montgomery. And 2 weeks later, you pivot and you don't really have a reliable solution at shortstop. Jacob Amaya was a 17 weighted runs created plus hitter. He was 83% below league average. He has a career 243 hitter in AAA in the PCL. He can't hit. Like, this is Rick Hahn.
Well,
this is
but
where
Meadroth didn't hit it all in the spring either, you know?
Well, yeah, Mydroth can walk, but I question that, because if teams are not afraid of you, then they're going to come at you. And they're not going to, unless the pitcher's got really poor command that day, they're not going to walk you. They're going to come right at you. Chase Mydroth still may succeed in those situations to get a bunch of singles. But at Sox Fest, we asked Chase Mydroth, how do you feel about the opportunity to play shortstop? And he immediately said, my defensive preference is second base.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Lenine, same thing with all those guys. I mean,
and they're not even playing Lenine at short. Like, that's the most common argument. We'll just put Lenine at short. Lenine hasn't played shortstop for the White Sox since 2022, and they refuse to play him during spring training. They're not even playing Brooks Baldwin at shortstop during spring training games. They have him out in center field. I have no idea what the White Sox are doing at shortstop, but for all the progress that these pitchers are going through right now, and I am pretty hyped up and excited about the White Sox pitchers. Every game could feel like the Aaron Bummer experience. And White Sox fans could not handle that for an inning at a time when Aaron Bummer came onto the field. How are we going to deal with that for 9 innings for every damn game to start the season until the White Sox figure out what they want to do at shortstop? The infield defense could be the worst defensive infield we have ever seen in our lifetimes for the Chicago White Sox.
These are not the answers I wanted, but these are the answers that are
you're
very
looking at
true,
Andrew
Josh.
Vaughn, the worst defensive first baseman in Major League Baseball, now at 5'10". Lenine Sosa is going to probably play second
now
base.
At 5'10".
We'll see how Lenine does. Maybe the bat carries him. Miguel Vargas is having a strong spring with the bat, but defensively, I have a ton of questions.
Terrible.
And then Jacob Amaya. Like, that's your infield. Lord. Yes,
Vargas
keep selling that you care about defense, but I'm just not seeing it.
Vargas at third base reminds me of Jose Valentin a bit, but he's worse.
I hope so.
Jose Valentin.
Yeah, no kidding.
If we got Jose Valentin, that'd be excellent.
Valentin in the field. Do you remember him playing? At least playing. Do you remember him playing short here?
He hit enough.
We would put our fucking hands over our eyes whenever the ball went to him.
Hey, no slander in Jose Valentin. He made up for it. All right.
But what I was saying is he makes Jose Valentin look like Brooks Robinson.
Okay.
He's that bad. He's that bad at third base, I think.
Yeah.
They should just play Drury there. That's the only solution.
That is a possibility. Drury could be at second base.
I think Drury should be at third base and Vargas should DH. If Vargas is going to stay on the team, just DH him because that's all he can do. Well, they got rid of Gavin Sheets, and now they have righty Gavin Sheets.
Well, you have the worst defensive first baseman in Andrew Vaughn, who's undersized for the position. You have the worst defensive left fielder in Andrew Benintendi. You got three guys that you're hoping to be in your starting nine that really should only be DH because they are ass on defense. Like, again, Chris Getz, I know you're going to continue to pitch that the White Sox are focused on being better defensively. For the second year in a row, I'm not seeing that progress as far as adding the types of players. And you are now trying to sell the idea, please watch our progress in Birmingham and Charlotte. My brother in Christ, that does not help you as the White Sox GM to have more money to spend in the offseason to improve your team in 2026. You still need to have customers come to the stadium to watch the team that you're putting out on the field. Like, there's a disconnect. And this is why a lot of ex-major leaguers are not in the front office because they do not understand the business aspect of Major League Baseball. You are the circus ringleader. Your responsibility is to a 26-man roster that's entertaining enough for people to buy tickets or buy cable subscriptions to watch your team every single time you play. He hasn't done that. I understand that they are cash strapped. He is frustrating to me. I like some of the hires that he's made in the front office. I understand the vision. I really like the Garrett Crochet trade. But man, this whole Colson Montgomery demoting him and not really having a backup plan at shortstop, and guys are now getting hurt at the end of spring training. And it feels like the White Sox just don't have enough bodies right now. And it's last man standing. This team could be worse off where they ended last year.
I think a talent.
No, go pitchers.
Go pitchers. Like a pure talent standpoint, it probably is worse than last year.
And after the deadline last year, the White Sox played at a winning percentage that would finish with 36 wins over a 162 game season. So if you're asking yourself, can it get worse? The answer is yes, it can. Because they played like a 36-win team post-trade deadline last year. And at some point, Luis Roberts getting traded this year. So what you're really banking on, if you want the White Sox to exceed the over on wins 53.5, Kyle Teal steps up. Colson Montgomery's back is okay. We see Brooks Baldwin. And then all of a sudden, the defense gets a lot better because you have a lot more athleticism in the infield and in the outfield. But to start the year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough watch. That's why I'm just telling everyone, watch Luis Robert hit and watch the pitchers. Like, that's where you can find hope at the beginning of the season. If anyone else does anything on a positive note, that's fantastic, but the bar is incredibly low entering opening day.
Any chance Nicky Lopez is going to be the shortstop? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, Jim Margulis, that was his pick, and he's not even on the team right now, so I don't know. I don't know. But again, things could change rapidly. We still have a few days left to go in spring.
It's going to be scary. Well, all right. I had some more questions, but I think we took enough time with that one. I think well, I think
Sorry,
we cover. I think we cover. I was going to ask you who you think the closer is going to be, but who gives a shit?
It's going to be Clevenger. It's gonna. I think they're going to give Mike Clevenger every opportunity again as a possibility to flip him if he looks strong enough. Another guy that we heard that the White Sox enjoyed as far as in the analytics side that may get some high leverage opportunities is Gus Varland. So those are the two names I would be looking out for. But Penn Murphy is going to be used a lot because he's looked really good during spring. The bullpen's got a chance. Maybe they could step up again. Pitching is where you could find hope. I think that's where the White Sox are going to be good this year. And I agree with Ethan Katz that they're going to surprise some people on the pitching side, but they really could use a better defense to help them out.
Right on. Well, guys, this was another good one this year. I really appreciate you both being on as always. Herb, you want to plug anything, bud?
Yeah, you can just check me out. I think our episodes come out Monday morning. It's Addison To 35th podcast. It's either myself or Ryan Herrera. We're doing a Chicago baseball podcast on the Just Baseball Media Network. So my episodes usually come out Monday morning on all the platforms now. Addison To 35th pod.
Excellent. Josh?
Next week at the Remova Theater, opening day eve, co-hosted by Sox Machine and from the 108. We got Jim Callis of MLB.com. He's going to be a guest talking about the White Sox prospects and the White Sox farm system. We got Courtney Finicum of Baseball Isn't Boring joining me to make her predictions because she was just at spring training camp as well, covering the White Sox. We got Kevin Hickey, the executive chef of the Duck Inn and the Remova Grill. He's going to do a baseball brunch demo. Because you remember that viral tweet of the White Sox had a brunch concession stand. He's going to pitch some ideas. James Began and Jim Margolis going to answer your guys' questions in a live PO Sox. And the From the 108 guys are going to try to cancel themselves at the live event. So again, we still have tickets. You can go to 108. What's that? 108.eve/live to buy tickets, or go to removachicago.com to buy tickets.
Excellent. Well, I hope everything goes well. Won't be able to go to the opener, unfortunately. I'm not going to be able to go to a lot of weekday games this year, so you guys just mostly see me at the park on weekends. I will be back with an episode on Sunday, so we're doing 2 this week. I mentioned it earlier in the pod. I'm going to have Bruhan Luke on, as well as Nick Morawski is going to be back with us, and we're going to do pitcher draft, basically what you did today, but pitchers instead. So I thought that would be nice to kind of split it up into 2. So we're going to be doing that. I have some more stuff coming around the way. I'll give you guys updates on our X account as it comes through. I am going to be slowing down the pod a little bit. I have a different job this year with my company, so my time is kind of limited. So definitely going to be slowing down a little bit. Mostly going to be like every other week. Today will be the last Tuesday episode of Drafty Pod. We're moving to Sundays starting this Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. But again, thank you both, Herb, Josh. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on. We'll do this again next year, and I'll try to update us at like an all-star break and what the numbers look like. So I'll get that in there.
Everybody stay healthy.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. This is episode 70. Thank you.